go. Making sure my mic is on. I feel like I always just start talking and half the time it's muted. We good here? Sounds good to me. Hey, Tony. Thanks for coming in. The worst thing about having a starting soon screen is that I can't check my hair before. Gotta go get up and use a mirror when I have a perfectly good camera right here. Welcome in, everyone. We are set up for a nice chill stream today. We got a lot of little things to do. Probably not adding fishing. We'll see. We got a lot of cool stuff we've been working on. Last week we built basically an entire second town. We still have a lot of the detailing to do, but we got all the block work done, where things go, kind of paths, sight lines, stuff like that. We need a lot of more of the detailing, where does the blacksmith specifically go? How do we make their building look like a blacksmithery? That sort of stuff. But it's really nice to have a second town. And lots of stuff to work on this week. We'll get in a second. I'm excited to see your NPC memory module. That's going to be really sick. I was actually just before the stream playing around with the old 2D demo of this game, thinking it'd be pretty easy to go back and add in some of the new stuff that we've built, like image generation for all those NPCs, and could do something for the items there. It's a pretty fun, super slick demo still. And I was playing it last night and I was like, man, this works really well. It's a nice little demo of the alchemy system in this. It'd probably be good to have it updated a little bit on itch so people can play a little bit. Human, welcome on in. Good to have you here. I'm sure it's super late for you. We always got those time zones to play with. Thanks for being here. We are opening up, just getting started. I'm jotting down some notes for different stuff that I could do on stream real fast. 4 minutes late, no worries. We talked about all the good stuff 3 minutes ago, so you missed all that, but I'm sure you'll do fine. We actually, last week we put out our first devlog. I guess I haven't streamed since that. We got pretty good response from that. Lots of people leaving comments, leaving feedback and stuff. So, that's awesome. If you guys haven't seen the devlog, let me link it in the chat real fast. It's our most recent video on our YouTube. Just devlog 1, just kind of, it's 30 minutes of going over all the systems. So if you're hanging out in stream, you've probably seen it all. Got a lot of feedback that people want to see more examples of everything. So hopefully next videos will be a lot more thorough or in-depth on specific systems so I can show them off more in depth. But we just had so much to do. I recorded for 60 minutes and cut it down to 30 minutes to show everything off. And I was like, that's got to be it. We can't go shorter than that for this first one. But for so long, I've been putting it off of we'll do that devlog when we get this feature in or when we get this feature in, because the game will look cooler then. But it's finally time to do it, I suppose. And speaking of new features, we got Tony in the chat here. He's gearing up for some really cool NPC rework stuff that we're going to do maybe this week or next week. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be doing today is looking back at obviously the NPCs, kind of preparing for that, laying some of the groundwork, and also kind of addressing some of the feedback we got on the devlog of some good criticisms and concerns for how to organize items and make sure things are easy to find information wise. So we will be taking a look at the codex, and we'll be adding a new page. I started adding a page for NPCs so you can keep notes on them and jot down what their problems are. So when you're out in the field harvesting stuff, you can look back and be like, oh yeah, this guy needed this thing. but lots more information dense stuff of like being able to look back on the conversation history. And I think there was another tab that we added in planned. Patrick, welcome in. It's going good. It's been a pretty chill day so far. I am still sipping on my coffee for the day, so I'm still waking up even though it's 1 p.m. and this is like my third cup, I think. So it's going. I'm excited for the stream though. Always trying to make sure I've got enough energy to see it all the way through. How's it going with you? And Human, how's it going with you as well? What are you guys up to today? I'm going to hop on over to our nice coding scene, and I'm going to update our daily task. I started writing it before the stream, and it's just like lots of little stuff, so wasn't really sure what we'd have. But let's see. Codex work, UI work, and lots of little non-fish related things. Oh yeah, the new town. I'll have to show you around. And I saw there was a comment up here that I just briefly saw. 10 p.m. so it's all right. I'm adding crafting to our fishing RPG. We will see. I feel like every game needs fishing eventually, and I've got some interesting ideas for how we can use our like AI systems for fishing. So we'll see if that pans out, but I mean, it might be a nice generic system to build that we could reuse for a lot of other things. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see if Tony's like, get off stream, we got to talk about this. There's no fishing in this game. It's a crafting game. But we'll see. You've had 3 cups too, but that was at noon. I'm just working on some ad designs for my job. Oh boy, that sounds pretty fun. I feel like last week was a very like design and art heavy thing for me, and it was super, super fun, and I would love to just do more town design this week, and maybe we will, but I also love to get back to some of that code, so maybe we'll do a little bit, do more. We'll do a little bit, we'll do a good balance. We don't really have like a huge feature that we're building this week, so it's really just like we've got a little list of things. Let's see where we got. List of things over here. So most of them are like UI stuff, and UI stuff makes me rage a little bit, so we'll see. Oh, Anthrax, welcome in. Probably I shouldn't just be shouting Anthrax, but welcome in. Good to have you here. Thank you for the follow. How's it going? How's your day going? We are just setting up, just saying hi to everyone. Let me catch up on this chat a little bit. Had a long day. Was at the gym. Bought a big suitcase for my upcoming Greece vacation. That's exciting. I didn't ask where you were going on your stream when you said you were going on vacation, because I didn't know if I wanted to, or I didn't know if you wanted to dox yourself there. But Greece sounds awesome. I actually have been there once, and it was very, very pretty. Loved it. You'll have to let me know how it goes. How long is the vacation for? You said you're missing 2 streams, I think. So I'll hit you up afterwards for sure. Hope you enjoy your Greece trip. Absolutely. What happened to your game? You know, a lot of stuff has happened last week. We were like, man, we are recording this devlog over in this little settlement town, and it's looking real bad. We don't have grass on the ground. We don't have buildings. We have like these shells of fake buildings. And so Tony and I were talking, and we're like, you know, we really need we need something that looks a little bit better, so people don't start playing and are like, this is an asset flip. This is a free game, free assets. Everything's terrible. We want to show off the cool systems we've built. So we got one of those big paid asset packs months ago where you get tons and tons of assets for super cheap. One of them had a nice town asset pack in it. So rather than destroying this settlement town over here and starting over, we went ahead and just built a second town last week. And we also set up our prefab painters and everything to start painting grass, which really fills in the ground a lot, I think. I still want to do like a lot more dense grass underneath, but it's already looking a lot better, I think. And we spent a lot of time last week like going to a lot of the positions where players will be as they're funneled through this town, and taking a look at some of the sight lines and trying to make it look very, very nice regardless of where you're at. We still have some missing pieces and stuff, but it's a great start to the town. We'll need to differentiate these houses a little bit just so they're not all the same house, so you can find like where's the fisherman's house, where's the blacksmith, where's the bakery, etc. But this is a way bigger space, and as we're getting ready to start working on this cool NPC system that we've built that lets them like walk around town and make their own decisions of what actions they want to do throughout the day. There's just not a lot of like room or potential to really show off that whole system in this little settlement town. Like they could decide to go to the lake and go fishing or something. That's kind of the extent of it. It's all pretty foresty around. So we're trying to build in a few more points of interest out here. Maybe we'll put in some like farming fields or a fishing spot or something where they can make a lot more interesting decisions, and you as a player can see like, oh, I was talking to this guy about fishing yesterday and now he's out fishing. That's kind of a coincidence, or is it? That's cool. Yeah, that's where it's at. That's a long-winded answer to a question that I've forgotten. Let me catch back up on this chat again. I'm excited to get into this stuff today, but I'm also excited to see all y'all here. How you doing? Imagine catching a fish previously thought to be extinct. Could be. Once I've caught up on chat, let me give an idea of what I imagine the fishing harvest system being. And we can talk about that. I've also got some questions on like the skills systems that maybe I can get some feedback on in a minute. But yeah, bouncing back and forth between code and design is going to be great. Anthrax, I'm glad you're alive for sure. It's Tony messaged me this morning. He's like, I just realized that guy's name is Anthrax Addict. That's a great name. So he made a great first impression there. Love it. Next two streams, Human is missing because he's in the UK, but that's just a longer weekend. Greece is the first 2 weeks of October. Awesome. Actually, now that I think about it, I might miss... Is it next week? Oh, nope. I'll be here next week. All right. All is well. I'm going on a trip, but the next day. So please don't rob me. Is it healthy to be addicted to anthrax? There's probably worse things to be addicted to, I suppose. So it's all a spectrum there, I guess. It's a healthy alternative to what I used to be on, and leave it at that. There we go. Absolutely. Glad you're on the right path there. Right velocity there. Velocity? Direction. And I see you added some more cool terraforming too, which is really nice. Yeah, we tried to kind of terraform this area a little bit to kind of make sense of where this water would be coming from. We'll probably do some like whitening of this mountain to make it more snow-capped, so we can kind of explain away a river of melty water coming down. I don't know how to do waterfalls that aren't just like a flat line with a shader, so we'll see how that is. But I also tried to do some of this like rock detailing, which I always struggle with because it's such a different like poly count than the texture on the ground. So I don't want to go too overboard, but I also don't want it to be just like a random rock here and there. So I think it turned out really well. Maybe we can paint these terrain edges a little bit to kind of blend it a little bit better, but overall I like how it turned out. We've got our nice moat in the front, and yeah, we'll do more terraforming. Like we probably want this to come over and connect to the moat around the big tree of creation, but Yeah, lots more still to be done. Should be very fun. You have plans that week too, not robbing. Excellent, excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Enjoy your tea, human. Let's talk about what all we can do this week, because I could start with anything really. But let me jump in real fast. Because one of the big focuses this week is prepping for Tony's new NPC systems. He's working on the hard AI stuff, literally giving them short-term memories, long-term memories, recalling memories, making decisions, all that. We're starting with just the memories. We've got plans to branch out from there, but it's very hard technical stuff. So a lot of what I'm doing here is the easy game side. I'll probably do animations for the NPCs off stream, but things. Oh, we're over here. It's gonna be. Maybe we'll walk over there while I talk, but I could just restart over there. But some of the things that we probably need are this new people tab in the codex. So as you meet new NPCs in the town, you'll start collecting these entries about them so you can refer back to their personalities. It's not built out yet, but if you were to click on one of them, you'd get a full-on page of the details and stuff that you've learned. Their personality, probably some relationship score in there. We probably want to have a reference to the problems that they've mentioned to you as a player. So if we talk to this guy and he's like, hey, my forge is turning all my metals into butterflies, I can't work like this, and you're out in the field and you find some magical item or something that for some reason might help, you might want to open that back up and be like, oh yeah, what did he say that his problem was? Oh yeah, this. And so it helps a lot to not have to go back and talk to those NPCs all the time, I suppose. That's probably just it's kind of a replacement from the quest system in any other game. I don't think that we are going the right way. Let's climb this hill. I think we want to go over there. But in the same vein, we'll probably also just have a tab for your history, your conversation history with that NPC, so you can scroll back and see all the conversations that you've had. And that'll probably be nice because, all of that is formed as memories in their brains. So if they've mentioned something before, they'll be able to recall it and refer back to it. So you should be able to as well. But we'll probably also have a tab for relationship stuff. Haven't really thought that through too much, but everybody loves romancing characters in cozy games. We'll see if we get there. But yeah, we're back to town now. We have a very basic NPC system right now that has quests. It is very, very uninhabitable with all the weird magical phenomena. It's really, really cool that we can kind of slide a slider almost for how fantastical or how crazy things get. We could tone it down to be really realistic, or we could just make it absolutely crazy. It's pretty far on the crazy side right now while we're testing everything, just to get things really well tested. But for example, this guy, whenever he attempts to enforce the law or merely approach someone with the intent to question them, his body undergoes a most unnerving transformation. He becomes as transparent as a ghost. So obviously he can't really do a lot there. So as a player, you see that, and yeah, subtle camera shift to hide buggy grass. I have no idea what is wrong with my shader. It's the same shader on the Is it related to my mouse? No, I think it's related to the wind, and it's the same shader as grass and trees, and I've been trying to figure it out for so long. There's also herbs using a very similar shader, and they're stretching into the sky. I'll figure them out one day, but until then, we've got a nice subtle camera shift here. We're making it look cinematic, but don't look at my buggy grass. But in terms of talking to this guy, for example, it's a very open-ended problem. He's not telling you this in order to say, like, I want this specific thing in your inventory as a solution. He's saying, this is my problem, and you as a player can craft anything. So, like, if you want to give him really heavy armor that's like mirror armor or something, so it can't turn transparent, it reflects everything so people could see him, that could probably work. If you want to give him a potion that solves the actual problem, that'd probably be the best way. If you want to give him like a siren or a horn or something that makes noise so he can tell people that he's there, like maybe he'd want that. We obviously have some like canned responses, so you can click through and kind of get more information, or you can type whatever you want. You can ask about specific items. You can also buy some items from him, like jump over here. He might have some like armor or something. Let's grab, maybe we can try and make him some armor or something that would be nice. So let's grab this. Oops. You're seeing the bugs firsthand. Let's grab this whetstone. Just wanted to use it as a material. So we go over to this anvil. The conversation was empty because we immediately reopened it after closing a conversation, when in actuality it's busy like summarizing the conversation history. So next time we go to him, it'll have a summary of what we saw. So if we go over here and we give him, say, let's make whetstone plate mail. Like maybe it'll be really sharp or something. If there was a workstation for like polishing something, we could probably make something reflective. It is very, very open-ended, so we're trying to add more and more workstations that make it more obvious, like what the output would be. So you can try and get a very target thing that you're thinking of. Like I obviously said mirror armor, but I have no idea how I would make that from here. I know it's possible that I could, but I just don't know the steps. So if there were like a workstation for polishing something that I could polish into a mirror, and then a workstation like the anvil that I could take that material and turn it into armor, then maybe I could make it. But we're just gonna apply this whetstone to our whetstone plated armor. Maybe we'll apply some other stuff like crystal or something. Try and make it a little bit magical. We'll bring it back to the guy, see what he says. As for the materials stream way into the future, yes, it would be really nice if it wasn't such an obvious bug with this grass. And it only happens some of the time. I think it's related to either the wind or the lighting. And we have our sun set up to slowly rotate so we get the shadows throughout the day. So I'm wondering if it's like positioned weird and having some weird effects there. Apparently applying a whetstone to this does nothing. We're getting all the bugs on stream today. Let's apply some crystals to it, maybe. Welcome back, Human. The asking about specific items part is great. In the little 2D demo on the id page, I hated the more open-ended requests because I would always misinterpret what the person actually wanted. Yes, and I've been meaning to respond to your very, very nice comment on the devlog, because I took some notes on all those concerns that you brought up, and actually they are ones that we've been trying to think through, and we have like stuff in mind to address, but we just don't have them in place, or I didn't explain them well enough. But that's a good example there of how the conversation, all right, everything is broken apparently. How the conversation can be really, really helpful in this new situation where you can effectively talk through the solution either before or after. So one of the things obviously is being able to ask about specific items, whether they would help, and we're going to have a little bit better UI there. Like right now you just drag in an item to give it to them. It'd be really nice to have like a little slot that says like drag in an item to ask if that would help, instead of having to say like, hey, I have these blinders in my inventory. Will that help? It'd probably be really nice, or maybe we can just narrow it into one pathway to say like, this is what I want to give you. Will this help? And maybe you don't necessarily give it to them unless it does help. And maybe they give it back if it doesn't help, something like that. But let's go talk to our other guard. Let's just give him the thing that we crafted. It probably won't help, but we can kind of see that process, I guess. But maybe we can craft one or two items in the meantime. We've got our whetstone plated armor. Sure, let's mix that with a crystal. Get it nice and reflective, very visible as we can. We'll talk to this guy. You can see that we have a brief summary here of the quest that you're solving, and it also summarized the previous conversation you had with them. So if you were to talk about something else, that'd be in the summary as well. He's just going to ask, like, have you made any progress? And you can say, like, crystal infused armor. Let's even add more and more crystals and say, I've got some extremely reflective crystal armor here that shouldn't turn transparent. You'll still be visible wearing it. Do you think that'd help? So he might say yes, he might say no. Maybe we should have a bug fixing stream. Apparently, start array? Something in our JSON parser broke. So maybe we got some malformed data back. Stat to modify. Huh, interesting. Well, we'll look at that in a sec. He says, creative solution, but it may not restore my touch. It's a start. Let's proceed and keep looking for a complete cure. And so we'll give him that, but that's also a good segue into the like follow-up quests system that we currently have, but that we're probably going to redo with this new NPC system. So this did indeed solve his problem. So this quest is done, and that's done in the back end by basically giving an AI the context of, here's everything the NPC has said, here's his problem, here's the item, here's all the conversation history the player had with them. Does this item solve this quest? Yes or no? So we can reward the player at this point. We can do other things, give them XP, whatever. But now this NPC doesn't have a quest. So what he's going to do is take all of his context again and say, what is my new problem? But that includes the conversation histories that he has. So what his next problem will probably be, but you know, everything's been so buggy today already. I would say it's probably going to be, he has this crystal armor, but he's still invisible. So he wants an actual solution to that. So let's see what he says. He's very thankful, but if we were to close this and maybe give it a minute to actually summarize the conversation while I look at, that's a suspicious error. All right, maybe this is a bug fix stream. Yes, we never actually ported this over from the demo. So I wonder what calls that. So when we do complete a quest, yeah, all the callbacks and stuff for a quest completed aren't being done here. So what would happen is like rewarding the player, granting XP, granting gold, and then triggering another quest to generate. I'm wondering if it's going to trigger one anyway because he doesn't have one. But I don't think so. But it still is treating it as the same quest for now because you didn't. You can say because you didn't necessarily complete it, but yeah, we'll need to finish up these follow-up quests when the new NPC system's in place. But all this like conversation and stuff gets lost every time you open the window or close the window. So that's what we're going to add in our codex, is being able to go to the people, go down to Sergeant Hal Thornfist or Iron Fist, have notes on him, his quest, your conversation history, etc., etc. So lots of stuff preparing for this big NPC rework. There's a lot of bugs around the system because it was one of the first systems we built, and we have been planning this rework for a while, so we haven't necessarily gone in and fixed a lot of these bugs if we're going to redo it anyway. And so we'll do what we can here. The asking about specific items part is great. I think I read this, but let me double check. Yes, always misinterpret what the person actually wanted. Oh yeah, and Anthrax, I wanted to say one other thing. In the context of them misinterpreting or you misinterpreting what they wanted. If we go down the route of, say, like, I'm planning on giving him this item to solve his problem. Right now you drag it in and you give it to them and, like, submit it. But one thing that we're toying with is, like, you put it over there as a, like, proposal of, will this solve your problem? And they would say yes or no. But it wouldn't necessarily be submitted at that point. You could still have a conversation and convince them that it would solve their problem because of these reasons. And so you'd be in this state of, like, talking about this item in the context of the problem. And so at that point you could take it back if they're really adamant that it wouldn't solve it, but you could also convince them that it would solve it, which I think is really, really cool. So that's kind of how we're hoping to tackle it. We did a very similar thing with our very, very first demo that we built, which I don't think is live right now. I think I need to cycle the API key. But it was a beat 'em up that we did for a game jam where you beat people up on the street, and there's an internal value, like a heat score, that is how much heat you have for the police. Almost like Grand Theft Auto style stars. And so eventually a police officer shows up and you get switched from this brawling mode into a conversational mode. And this internal value is, like, baked into each message in the conversation. So as you convince them that you're more and more innocent, your heat goes down. And if you say stuff that makes you more suspect, your heat goes up. And there's, like, thresholds in that of, if your heat goes up above a certain amount, you get arrested. If it goes down below a certain amount, they let you go and you can keep beating people up. And then with each message, we also ask an AI to adjust that score based on the conversation history. And so you as a player see the goal that you're trying to get to, your fail state, your success state. So we might be able to do something similar here where you have, like, an item that you submit to solve their quest, and then they have a, like, sureness factor of something, of whether it'll help or not, and you can negotiate and say, like, yeah, it'll actually help because of this, and you can see them becoming more and more like, excited or sure that it will solve their problem. Or you can see, like, oh, that message, his surety went down, so he doesn't really necessarily like the way that I'm pitching this item to him. I should try a different way. Something like that. So lots of cool stuff that we can do there. It's like a long process of UX to try and get it all in. And we're trying to build out these smaller demos just to, like, play them and see if they're fun or not, or if that is, like, a chore versus just being able to drag over an item and be done with it. So lots to be done, hopefully. And yeah, good segue to say that we're hoping to have a demo next month playable for everyone. We were thinking about doing Next Fest, but I don't think that the game will be ready by then, next month. So we're just hoping to have, like, a proper demo for everyone that we'll share on Discord. We'll share it on Steam. If you haven't wishlisted the game on Steam quite yet, let me shamelessly throw a plug in the chat there. And yeah, hopefully the demo will be able to kind of show off a lot of these features a lot better too. I feel like as you're working on a game and you're so in tuned with how things work under the hood, you jump directly to like, oh yeah, I'll just do this and this because it'll just work. And there's a lot less of that like playing around and the discovery and the magic. And it doesn't really come across on streams, but sometimes I will get distracted by just making random items all the time and just seeing what I get. And it's so fun to me. So I'm excited to show it off to other people too. We just need a few more systems in, a few more bug fixes as you've seen, but lots and lots of really cool stuff to be done. So yeah, I'm just going to make some items now. Human. Yes, it is all AI assisted. We are mostly using AI for generating and manipulating the game data itself. So like item data is all JSON blobs. The images are generated on the fly because we can't necessarily create an item like this and already have an image ready for it. NPCs obviously use them both for dialogue, which is the obvious case, but also for like quest generation. We generate a bunch of like data that way, and we also use it for like decision making. So you see that a little bit right now in the decision making of, does this item solve this quest? But what Tony's working on is like a huge revamp of the decision making of, what should I be doing right now? And so obviously this guy right here, he's literally just standing still all day. He doesn't do anything. He's playing an animation on loop because that's just his idle animation. But the big thing that Tony is building here, I mean, he's building a few big things, but the one that will be most noticeable to the player, I think, is that internal action loop. And if he doesn't have an action that he's doing right now, what he's going to do is take all that context that he's using already for like quests and conversations and stuff, and he's going to say, here's a list of things that I can be doing. So like walking around town, interacting with any object nearby, talking to another NPC, talking to the player, crafting items from his inventory, or like selling items to other NPCs, maybe harvesting items from the lake or whatever, like all these very generic things. We are going to basically do the same sort of decision making that we do with the quest, saying, does this item solve this quest? We are going to say, here's a list of things you can be doing based on your personality and like game state. What do you want to be doing right now? And if he says, I want to go to the lake and go fishing, he can go to the lake and go fishing, because we'll have those actions kind of, we'll have the functionality of the actions coded in, but the AI can choose the kind of like parameters of the actions. If he wants to do burpees, he can do burpees all day long. But like when you think about a game like Stardew Valley or something where all of the NPCs are scripted throughout the day, they have these schedules of, I'll be here from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then I'll go to the tavern until 1 p.m. and I'll do this and that. It is very cool to know, like, there's that player expertise of knowing, like, oh yeah, Tom or somebody, I can't remember any Stardew Valley people names. Wow. Linus will be at this place at this time, so I'm going to go talk to him there. I think it's really cool, just in a different way, to kind of have that world that you're effectively living in. And it feels a lot more like you are just a person in this world rather than the main character, because they're off doing their own things. And the thing that I'm most excited about is going over here and being like, you'd really like fishing. It'd suit your personality because of reasons X, Y, and Z. And talking to them and saying that, and maybe taking some time to convince them that they'd actually like fishing, but then seeing them like the next day or a couple days later actually at the lake trying out fishing, and then you talk to him and he's like, you're right, I do like fishing, or I hate this. I think it's like super cool to be able to convince these NPCs with natural language what to do. And so that's like the culmination of all of these NPC systems that Tony's building, like memory, conversation, and actions, like that is the pinnacle of them all together. You can convince NPCs of stuff and then they go do stuff, which is super cool. And if you wanted like to play as a baker or something and you don't like fishing and you needed a lot of raw food, maybe you get this guy to go fishing a lot so he gets a bunch of fish in his inventory, then you buy all his fish so you can do all your cooking without having to go collect all that yourself. I think there's a lot of possibilities there to do some really fun ways to play. And not to get too much into a tangent, because I'm already tangents on tangents on tangents, but that's kind of the focus of the skills systems, which I am rethinking a little bit now. We probably are going to get rid of like woodsmen at least, but they are meant to be not necessarily like gates to content, like, oh, you need to be level 5 woodcutting to cut down this oak tree versus 1 for a birch tree and 40 for a maple tree or something. There are benefits to that, like not overwhelming the player with infinite options of things to use on infinite objects from the very get-go. But a lot of it is just going to be for that like progressive discovery of new things that you can do if you want to play as this kind of person. So if you want to be like a miner, you might still have access to like mine everything you want from the start, but you're going to gain access to like rock tumbling machines and like other workstations that let you use those materials in new ways. And I think that's the cool like way to fulfill that fantasy, while also not necessarily gating the player, but having like a curve of complexity, so they're not just overwhelmed from the start. But I do agree that I don't want to ever put the player in a situation where they're like, all right, I talked to this NPC, I have a really good idea for the solution, I need this specific item, but I can't get it until I go level up my woodsman or level up my herblore or something 2 more levels so I can get that resource. I don't think that would be fun. But I do think there's a lot of funness in like, oh, I just leveled up my alchemy and now I can enlarge items in my inventory. So now I have so much to like play with. It's like a new tool versus like a resource that I needed at a certain time, if that makes sense. Let me catch up on this chat. No burpees. This reminds me of what Oblivion attempted to do with their NPCs. Actually, yeah, we thought about when Tony and I were first coming up with this system, we were really tempted to do a Skyrim mod so we could mod this into Skyrim and just see how it worked there. We didn't do it, obviously. I haven't done any Skyrim mods. I started out a little bit of like Terraria modding and Minecraft modding, but never really got too far before I was like, I need to just make my own game. You are not the world, you're in it. I feel like that's a great pillar for the game. You know what? I will write down that line so I don't forget it. That is a good line. Thanks for calling that out. I honestly think that listening to you explaining things improves my vocabulary. I appreciate that, Human. Thank you. I am very much a writer at heart, and I appreciate that. I sometimes feel like my vocabulary has shrunk since I was younger, so it's nice to feel like it is definitely still expanded. I have to go soon, but an alternative to that, playing the devil's advocate against leveling here, would be to have literal gates to certain areas with different resources. I need an item to protect me from these unnatural sandstorms before I can collect X, Y, and Z. Now that is a really cool idea. I've thought about literal gates in terms of like the physical realm when we were doing a terraforming stream a few weeks ago, to have like for example, I'll run over there quickly, but if you have physical gates where it's like, oh, I need to get up here but I can't jump that high, you can craft items that have like jump height, And so, like, this is my jump height here. I don't know if it's going to be much different with just +2. But you can craft items that give you the physical means to get places that you couldn't get. But I hadn't considered, like, protection from, like, sandstorms or heat, or, like, we have that giant desert on the other side of the world. That'd be a perfect place of, like, you can't go there until you have the right equipment or the right stats for some reason. And yeah, there's probably other, like, maybe you can't go to that cursed forest until you have the right protection in another way. I think that's a really cool way to gate areas too, as opposed to, like, locking it behind skills. But you could also, like, tie those a little bit together. Like, once you get to a certain level of skill, you just have the means to craft whatever you need to get to the new area. Yeah, I'll definitely think on that, but that's a cool idea. I like that, to have kind of these areas gated off by the actual items that you have or the equipment that you have, because, I mean, that puts a lot of focus on the equipment system, the crafting system. It's a lot less focus on the actual skill system, which, yeah, anything we can do to make this feel less like a gate and more like you level up and you gain access to something and you're like, ooh, new tool. Now I can invert items. What the heck does that mean? Like, that's the kind of thing that it's like, you get that and it's a tool to, like, play around with a bunch of stuff, versus you're at level 4 and you're like, man, I really want to make this thing, but I need invert item to get it. I had the gates in Slime Rancher in mind, where you need a plot from a bunch of different slimes to show you know the breadth of the game. Slime Rancher is such a great game. I think I started playing it for, like, a few hours when it was on Xbox Game Pass, but I never actually played much Slime Rancher. I'll have to poke that out. All right, 10 minutes till my meeting, gonna head out. It's been great having you here. Thank you so much for the follow. Thanks for all the comments and feedback as well. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Also a bunch of cool interaction puzzles. Yeah, I do think that one thing this world could really improve on is adding some puzzles, specifically, like, physics puzzles. Like being able to get up there or something, obviously. I already mentioned, like, being able to jump high enough, but if you could, like, craft something that lets you glide, or craft something that lets you hover, or something, like, lots of different mobility item affixes would be really cool to make physics puzzles with. But one thing that I've been toying with the last week or so, and I mentioned to Tony, and not really sure if it's worth the effort to make it, like, set up, but there's a lot of really cool social puzzles too. Like, you've probably heard of the like the 2 knights guarding a door. One of them lies, one of them tells the truth. We could absolutely have a cave or something protected by 2 knights that have those same NPC engines that we have. One of them has the rule to only lie. One of them has a rule to only tell the truth. And you can just talk to them like normal. And if you can figure out the social puzzle, you can get in. There's a lot of really cool kind of puzzles like that, where it's almost like game theory, where you're playing a game in a game, but it's based on how other people act. And I think that would be really, really cool in a single player game where you are talking to these NPCs, you have the influence, like, you can convince them to form certain opinions. You can kind of form your own opinion of who's trustworthy, who's not. Lots of really cool mechanics in there for, like, puzzles, I think. Just got to figure out where those puzzles live in the context of the game. Like, should you have a puzzle gating this area, or should you have a puzzle gating, like, an instanced cave, or should you have puzzles occurring naturally throughout the day with these NPCs that can talk to each other? It's a lot of setup, I think, and it's kind of a one-off. Like, when you do the 2 nights, one can lie, one cannot. It's fun if you aren't familiar with the solution, but if you already know the solution, it's like, okay, I just asked this question and I get through. That wasn't necessarily anything. Oh, these don't have colliders on them. Interesting. We will fix that. More bugs to fix. You have a really helpful link to share with you that you just discovered recently. I'm going to go preemptively up, over in the Discord, tvtropes.org. You got a lot of nerve linking a man who's trying to do anything with his life, tvtropes.org. I will see you guys in like 4 days when I'm finally able to close all those tabs. I'll check that out after the stream. There's no way that I'll be able to escape that site. I love that site so much. There's so much good stuff, and I will absolutely check that out. Thank you. Let's see here. So I've totally forgotten where we were at, and I think what we're gonna do is do some quick wins. We've got our NPC page in our codex, and right now it just shows all the NPCs in town, or in the world really. What we want instead is to add them to your codex as you meet them. So that's just controlled in codex window. I believe it's drawing from our new NPC database. We have active NPC personas. We pull from that to populate the list. What we can do is just have a met NPCs that we add to whenever we talk to an NPC, and then whenever we open the codex, we draw from that. So we will rig that up real fast. I don't think that will take very long, but what I'm going to do first is move our player back to the town with a bunch of NPCs, just so we can talk to them and test it. Cool. Already beat me to the warning. I accidentally spent 2 hours on that website last time. Yeah, TV Tropes is an amazing site. Would recommend, but only when you have at least hours to play with it. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. Let's open our NPC database script. We will just have, this is literally only used for our codex, so let's rename it to met NPC personas, so everything still works. What we're going to do is empty it out, nothing uses it, and all we're going to do is change our generic interactable NPC script to add to that every time you talk to an NPC if they're not already in that. So let's do that real fast. So we're going to go over to generic interactable NPC. On our interact, we'll say add to the NPC database met NPC personas if it's not already there. Easy peas. I think that'll do everything that we want it to do and just work. It's the world's deepest rabbit hole, absolutely. There's so much good stuff in there, like stuff that you can't find elsewhere in the internet, really. It's such obvious stuff when you read it, but you're like, I never would have thought of that. Alright, let's see if this works, and I can have some more coffee. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute today. Maybe it's all the coffee, we'll see. But what we should see here, if this worked... Oh no, camera froze. Uh-oh. Let me try this. Let me kill some processes over here. My camera froze when I was testing right before the stream too. and I just restarted my computer, which is usually what makes it work. Yeah, only the camera freezes. I think it's overheating or it's a problem with OBS because it seems to come back when I restart OBS. And I'm gonna do the dangerous thing here. I'm going to close. Well, I'm gonna close OBS and reopen it. I think it'll just like surely there's enough stream to bring it back without interrupting. But we're gonna try our best here. OBS is currently active. Are you sure you went to exit? Let's do it. I'll be right back in like 20. Yikers. I don't think it works. Well, Well, that's fine, I guess. I don't even know like how I would fix it other than a full-on reboot. Because I think it's a problem with OBS. Like if I close OBS and open just the Windows camera app, it works just fine. So what I'm gonna do is just hide it for now. I'm gonna leave it unplugged for now. Maybe it'll, like if it is maybe overheating, you think it restarted the stream. Yeah, that's fine. Oh boy, I suppose. Cool. Well, let's see if it ever comes back. I might end up just buying a new webcam, I guess. Yeah, I think it did restart the stream. That's fine. Well, right. We were testing this, and what we're hoping to see is if we open the codecs and go to the people tab, it's empty. That is correct. And now if we go talk to a person, it's going to add that person's persona to our Met NPCs tab. And so when we open the codecs now, we have them. Okay. So that works. We still have some stuff to do on the actual person tab, but I think that'll be fine. Let's go talk to a couple more people. That guy and that guy. And that looks fine. It would be nice to have like the black silhouettes of people you haven't met as like almost like a completionist checklist of like go find this person and talk to them. I don't think we want to explicitly tell the player like, hey, your first quest is go talk to everybody. But that is kind of what we want them to do. So having this sort of like list of you have 6 more people to find in this town at least would be nice. But we don't really have a way to do good silhouettes with our images right now. So maybe we won't do that quite yet, and we'll focus more on the NPC pages because we want to have quests and history done hopefully soon. And we'll want to double check how we store the actual quest message. I'm pretty sure it's separate from the conversation already, but we might need to pull it out in order to get that working. Yeah, I'm just a little bummed about this camera not working, but I suppose it's gonna be fine. Usually it goes out so much later in the stream if it goes out. Like Discord just recognized it. Hey, you just plugged this in. Just checking settings on it real fast. Oh, hey, we're back. Hada! Alright, that's fine. Well, we'll see if it goes out again, I guess. At least we didn't restart the stream for nothing. Maybe it's because Discord was using access to your camera and overrided OBS. It could be because I just checked Discord over there and it was asking like, hey, do you want to switch to this camera? And as soon as I closed that is when I came back over here and toggled it back off and back on. And that turned it back on. And a lot of times I just close OBS and then reopen OBS and it works again. So maybe it is like also a permissions thing between them. I guess I could just close Discord next time. Cool. Well, that works. I don't think we necessarily need the silhouette faces quite yet. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we're storing the quest, because that is probably like the priority of what we want to make sure works. So we'll go down to our people's show person page and let's go hunt around in our code and see if we can extract that. So I'm gonna go look starting generactable in NPC, generic interactable, not genteractable. So we're gonna hunt and find where we're storing our quest message. I'm also noticing we're not using our introduction message anymore. I think that was on purpose, but we'll probably want to bring that back. I noticed that in our demo as well, in the 2D demo, they have that introduction, which feels really nice, which we don't have. Let's see here. So, actually, probably the best way to find this is in our NPC window manager. That's going to have a I can hold item, which is what accepts our item being dragged in. And that's what kicks off the does this item solve this quest. So I assume we have a reference to this quest. So on player input is the text box, conversation messages, add NPC responses, generating and showing canned responses like those suggested messages, submit item for quest. Cool, cool, cool. Human, you broke everything. You left and just everything broke. My camera froze, so I ended up restarting OBS, which apparently restarted the stream. But everything's fine now, apparently. So when we submit an item for the quest, let's see what calls this real fast. Yeah, receive item stack. That's what we drag an item into the window. It receives this item, this quantity, and the item slot that it came from in case we need to send it back. Oh, you had to refresh the page. Everything was black. Oh. Yeah, I guess that probably is just a problem of restarting the stream. I'll try not to do that again. Let's see. So if we are in the conversation tab where we're submitting an item, we're just making sure that we give them the item. If it's a consumable, he'll use it, but otherwise add it to his inventory. Cool, cool. And then we submit item for quest. Great. We're on the right track. Here is our prompt for does this item solve this quest, given a conversation history. So quest is going to be quest database.instance.getQuest4. Perfect. That's super easy. Let's go look at that real fast. Generate quest 4, set quest 4, get quest 4. I totally forgot that I even wrote this, so that is super convenient. In the last hour of my shift, so I might go dark for a bit so I can get this important ad close to finished. Good luck. Nice having you here. I'm going to put on some music, I believe, and get the vibes going, so maybe that'll help out or not. But yeah, it's been real nice having you here, and come back anytime. Good luck on the ad. Let's get this music going as well. You'll still be lurking. Awesome, awesome. Got to toggle Spotify on in OBS, and I'm thinking today, I was just telling my wife about how good the Terraria soundtrack is, and she might be lurking at work as well, so we'll see. We got it going. Alright, so apparently getting the quest is super easy. Terraria soundtrack is goated. Yeah, I was watching an Overwatch player the other day. He was playing Overwatch with Terraria's soundtrack in the background. I was like, why does this sound so familiar? It was the Terraria soundtrack, not Overwatch. Alright, so how do we want to organize these extra pages? We have these tabs. We might even be able to put like most of this info on just the one show person page. Probably not like the conversation history. Oh no, Human, you better not say that you've never played Terraria. Oh, well, I guess... I mean, we did a Discord, like, community Terraria stream a few months ago. There were, like, 5 of us, I think. So it might be time to bust that server out again and get some friends playing again. We'll see. Terraria is such a good game. Like, I played it for how many hundreds of hours before I even tried Minecraft because I was such an elitist about 2D versus 3D. But it's quite good. Would recommend. I'm opening up my Steam right now so I can double check the magnitude of my hours. But I've also played a lot on console and streaming from like Xbox Game Pass, I think. So I don't have my hours there. But Terraria, 350 hours is honestly less than I thought it would be. But it is a great game. Would recommend. It's a really good game for just like exploring and adventuring, and just there's so much stuff to discover. All right, so let's think about how we want these tabs to kind of feel. Because it's a little, I mean, this is obviously huge and probably won't stay that huge, but we don't really have anything to fill this page. So it's going to stay huge for now. We're going to have another page, I think, for show person quests. So I think that's probably just a fine way to do it. We'll just show this page when we click on quests and hide the other people pages. Side note, I have not beat the Torch God. I think that's newer and I haven't played in a while, but he looked cool. I've seen him on videos. I haven't beat him though. Also, fun fact, 350 hours, I've never beaten Terraria. I literally just play and play and play, and I never progress past like very far into hard mode, and then I'm like, let's play again. Different character, different world. Terraria is quote-unquote finished with getting updates and stuff. Their last 4 updates, I think, have been the final update. So at this point, it's the only updates it gets is like just passion project stuff, or like the developers adding in really requested stuff. Like a couple updates ago, they increased all the item stack limits from like 99 to 999, like that sort of stuff, where they're nice updates, but I would say it's definitely finished with updates. And apparently they add more bosses. So actually, if we have the tabs container on the show person tab, I think what we want to do is actually put this in like a tab controller inside that. So what we're going to say is we'll do like tab person details. Tab quests, tab relationship, etc., etc. And we can stylize those around this too. But for now, let's turn these guys off. Person details. Right. I always forget to be doing these in prefab mode, but let's go in. People, this guy. Brought all this out so we can expand this to the proper size. Oh, right, we can't bring it out quite yet. Bringing all this out. So now we can expand this without needing to rescale everything, right? Is that also? All right, we'll do it by hand. Undo all this that I have accidentally done. So tabs are good. This should be full size. Avatar can be anchored to the left. Person details stack. Wow, that's huge. That'll do it. And so this tab will be shown probably need like a home tab or like a details tab. Let's say relationship is actually just details, and then we'll have quests for just your active quest and list of previous quests, and we'll have history for all your conversation history with this player. But we'll put everything in details as like a catch-all. We'll redo those icons too. So this guy, tab details, we want to bring out the avatar, I think, because it's this object that will be kind of our tab controller. So if we were to turn that off, turn on our quests tab, let's style that real fast. We don't need a double avatar, but now we can do don't need the relationship thing. We can just say like active quest description, and we'll leave off the history tab for now, but that'll also right. That'll also just work the same way. See, this is times human that I'm like, there's no way that my explanations are expanding your vocabulary. All right, let's just knock this guy out of the same way. So we'll expand him and just put some placeholder stuff in for conversation history. Cool. So that'll be fine. And now we can rig up these buttons to toggle between the three because they have enough content that's different that we can differentiate them, right? Yeah. Let's get this guy lined up. And this guy as well. Cool. So on our details button, let's write our function that we'll call NPC window manager. I think we have, oh right, this is the codex window manager. We've got some page management stuff down here. So let's say switch persona tab to, probably should do like an enum for the tabs, but we'll do this for now. We will say case, sorry, switch tab name case details. We'll have, what was our second one? Quests and history. Cool, so to get those working, we need references to each of these containers for those tabs. So we're just going to treat it like a tab controller. So people pages show. Now we have public game object ref detail page, public game object ref quest page, public game object ref history page. Cool, cool, cool. So we literally just show them in here, but we also hide all the others. So we'll do detail page that way, quest page and history page, and we'll just hide them all up here. So only the one we're trying to show is the one showing. Now the question is, we have this parameter of a string. Can we actually do that from this button on click? Or do we need to set up that click from code? So it would be codex window, switch persona tab string. Okay, yeah, we can set the string. Cool. Details. Just do the same. I didn't know you could set the string like this. That's awesome. Let's make sure it's quests and not quest. Yeah, cool. Let's rename this guy to quests. The song goes hard. Oh yeah, I saw your message about the How It's Made song before. I got distracted listening for it, but I definitely see that too. Alright, and the last one is history. Cool, cool, cool. So this should work now. If we have these guys all set. These tabs are off by default. We show the details tab by default. Let's go ahead and come out of here, turn this off. Let's go double check that it works. Hopefully. Alright, so we'll have no one in our codex when we first open it. So let's talk to someone real fast. That guy will do. Oh, he hadn't even generated his first message yet. Interesting. We've got him. Cool. So now we have 3 tabs that don't work. Oh, right, because we never set the references. well, they should work, hopefully, when we actually set them up properly. These guys. Detail page, quests page, history page. Let's try that again real fast. Good excuse to drink more coffee. Just want to see what it looks like when it's empty. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so details page, quests page, history page. We still need to do the highlight on the buttons, but I mean we need to do it up here too. So at least the tabs work. Cool. Now let's pull in the actual quest info here, and then we can do conversation history after that. But should be everything we need. Could also pull out this friendliness score so it's on everything other than, or not just the details page. But I ain't panicking about that. Let's go. So on the details page, that's where we're gonna load in the description. Like, we're getting to the point where this should probably be its own script because it's going to have so many references here, but let's go ahead and just say public game object. Well, we've got the details page stuff up here already. So let's kind of organize this a little bit nicer. So that's all the global stuff. This is going to be details. This is going to be quests, history, and on the quests page we'll have public text mesh pro quests text, which I will set before I forget, and that's where we will literally just pull from that quest database because apparently it's that easy. So that's nice. We'll see what the actual text stored is there. I'm wondering if it's going to be like not the right format or something, but we will say active quest is our quest text, and easy peasy down here. Now anytime you switch to the quests page, you just say graph quests text is equal to quest database dot, do we have a reference to our current NPC? I think we do. Our current shown NPC. Oh, we don't. That's fine. Let's add one. Private persona shown person persona. So that needs set whenever we draw people show. So now we have that reference to the persona that we're showing the codex page for, and we can use that reference to get the current quest. So that should work. Let's go see what the quests are stored like whenever this recompiles. One of these days I really need to learn how Unity profiling works and figure out why it takes so long to compile these days and why it takes long startup time. Reloading domain is the message I hear the longest forever. It will never escape me. Okay, so what did I just do? Right, we should be able to see quests now. So, nobody. Talk to him, he has a quest. Leave that, open the codex, go to people, click on him, Oh no, cam froze again. You know what? At least it's not a super unflattering face. Let me close Discord. Maybe that'll be the trick. But that's fine for now. And maybe it'll come back later. But we now have details on him. If we click quests, okay, maybe we need to re-summarize this. It's literally just the message that he sent, but we'll probably also have a button to like jump to the conversation where he's talking about this quest. So we'll have all the conversations in the conversation history, but it is nice to be able to see the quest here, even if it is just a one message. I think there's more that we'll want to do though. And yeah, I think we want to also move the name and profession up here outside of the tab content. But this is a start at least. This image is way too big to be honest, but I do like the art, so we'll just make it a little bit smaller. You think you know a workaround for my long game starting time? Oh, interesting. That would be very nice. Nice, to figure out sooner rather than later too. Alright, we're turning off the camera for now. Maybe it'll be back later, maybe not, who knows. But I think a new camera is on the books, I guess. In the books, on the horizon. Apparently just turning it off and on in OBS after unplugging it is enough for now. Still gonna get a new one, hopefully, but we got workarounds. Alright, let's get some of this design a little bit wrapped in. So we've got our avatar. Let's make that significantly smaller. And let's also bring out name and profession. Put them up here, probably much larger text. It's pretty large already, but bold? Yeah, that'll do. So now, let's also bring out the friendship slider. Let's just put it down here. It's still a little bit weird that these tabs specifically only tab like this area of the page. So it'd make a lot more sense to move them like a lot closer to what they're tabbing through. If we had like a box here or something, but I think for now we'll just leave them. Let's see here. Alright, we're gonna try this hack, see if it makes things better. We go edit, project settings. It may cause some shenanigans depending on what you do in your game. So if something is weird, reverse that. Gotcha. Editor, scroll down to enter play mode settings and enable it. So editor, enter play mode settings and enable it, but disable reload domain and reload scene. Okay. I don't know. Oh, domain reload. Reinitializes the game completely, making loading behavior very close to the player. Interesting. Huh. I wish they'd give you a little bit more detail on what exactly that changes, but we'll give it a shot. So if we jump over to our player now and click play, that is a lot faster. There are some weirdness things, but that is a lot faster at least. I wonder if I built my project and ran the standalone executable if I would have these spaces. They're fine for now. I would much rather have some pixel problems than waste 10-15 seconds every time I try and click play. Alright, let's go talk to some fellas. Let's learn their quests. RS player controller has been destroyed. Right, I'm sure this is related. You should probably note that down somewhere in case you forget later on what that weird option was. You're right. You know, I think, let me also see if potentially I can turn on one of those quote weird options. So if I reload the scene but not the domain, I wonder if reloading the scene will get those references to the scripts back that I seem to be missing here. But the domain is probably like something related to like recompiling and linking the binaries and stuff. So hopefully it doesn't do it for everything, but just the things that have changed. But that seems to resolve this hotbar issue. Let's go talk to some fellows again. No, I see. Still broken. Can't click anything? Yeah, can't click anything. Interesting. I will dig into this off stream, but that is probably the route that I want to go down. Probably a little bit of things like this, which just make it a lot faster to get into, but I would like to learn how their profiler works and figure out what the heck is actually taking so long. But let's try this once more with everything reloading nice and slowly. We're going to talk to a couple NPCs, get a couple quests, make sure that the codex switches between them correctly, make sure everything that we've set up so far is correct, and then we'll switch over to the conversation histories. So we'll talk to that guy, we'll talk to this guy. Cool. Might as well go talk to somebody else. Full on test. Let's talk to her. Alright, so we've got 4 people now we've met. She has a quest. Oh right, we need to clear those out, but that's fine. If we go back, we probably want a back button to people index. Yes. So it's not... So either we're saving the persona wrong, which I don't think is the case, or we're not redrawing this text. Or we're storing the quests incorrectly in our actual quest database. Which I don't think is the case, surely. You know what it was? We left open the tab that we were previously showing. So we need to call switch persona tab to details when we do people detail. So let's do that real fast. So that should redraw it, which is what we needed to do. Let's double check that. This is Stardew Valley music, which I am mad about. Apparently we finished Terraria. What you thinking about Unity 6? Is that U6? I know it's coming out soon. Let me bring it up. Because I kind of like glossed over it. It wasn't super like exciting like the new Unreal was with like Lumen and stuff. I feel like, yeah, the big focus was like AI stuff and some of the lighting stuff and like big scenes, which I'll probably get the most benefit of these, but they're kind of in the vibe of the Unreal Engine, like the AAA features that they can do, but I feel like you probably don't get them for free. You probably need to really understand how things work and why things act the way they are in order to get a lot of the benefits of switching to these. So I'm not usually super excited about these sort of benefits because, I mean, I'm not making a AAA game, so I'm probably not going to get a ton of benefits from them. But the one thing I am excited for is Centis here, which we'll see if I continue to be excited about. They first promoted it as just like local models on device, but I think I saw something about like you need to, like there's some sort of payment involved to even run those local models. So like obviously we want to move this game towards using models on device, so you don't need that like internet connection. I mean, it doesn't cost us anything to let you play the game anymore. You can just run it on your own computer. And Centis seems like the place to go for that, where you can run all these models on your device. So that's the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to. But then again, I mean, we're already using, what's it called? Barracuda or something to get some of those models starting to run on device. And it simultaneously, like, technically works and also doesn't give me a lot of hope for Centis working well. So I'm not super excited about Unity 6, to be honest. But I think when it's out, I will look at the reviews, and if it is good, especially with the local models, then we might push to upgrade, but it doesn't seem like we're going to get a lot from it. And I feel like Unity 6 is where they, like, I know they just reneged again on the licensing fee or the, like, install fee, and they had it to where it wouldn't apply to your games unless you upgraded to Unity 6, I think it was. And now it's not applicable, but it does seem like they are just trying to get you to... Oh yeah, runtime fee is canceled. They're trying to get you to upgrade, but there's not really a lot of benefit to upgrading, I see. They so often announce the greatest, newest, freshest stuff for their engine, and then they just drop it out of nowhere. Yeah. I'm still waiting for like the new input system to be the real input system. It seems like there's so many like half-baked features in Unity that you Google issues for, and you're like, why does this not work the way I expect it to? And the answer is, it's broken. And that answer is from like 4 years ago. So my view of Unity is to just like pick a version that works right now and not expect new stuff to come. But if it does come, that's great. I have a super weird issue that compiling shader variants takes ages during building my game. I wonder if it may get faster with Unity 6. Yeah, I would give it a try for sure. I mean, there probably is a lot of like free benefits to upgrading. There's probably like bug fixes and optimizations. I mostly am just kind of side-eye around like the feature benefits of like, oh, if you do it this different way, then it'll work better. It's like, I'm not going to do it that different way because it already works mostly fine. But I mean, if you have a really big problem like shaders taking forever, maybe either it'll fix it on its own or they'll have a better solution, maybe. But yeah, I would love to see the numbers of like how many people didn't upgrade to Unity 6 with the runtime fee. And then I'd love to also see the numbers of how many people immediately upgraded after they got rid of the runtime fee. I want to love the Unity company, but I think they've got a little bit to go before I will hype them up. But I do really love the Unity editor, so it works right now. I think, as I recommend to people, like a lot of new developers that I've seen are like, ooh, yeah, all the really cool stuff in Unity, or all the really cool new stuff in Unreal looks really cool. I can make a really good game. I try and remind them that they're probably also not going to make a AAA game. Did my camera freeze again? Oh no. Well, they're probably not also going to make a AAA game because they're going to need those assets that they don't have, the animators that they don't have, a lot of optimization knowledge that they don't have, lots of stuff really that they need to do in order to make these newer features work. And you know, it's kind of like Unity is a nice suggestion there of it works right now and it's easy and it has a lot of assets in the asset store. I guess I'm just saying I don't really have any strong preferences on engines. I'd love to enjoy Godot a little bit too, but just haven't done it that much. Checking my OBS settings again. I definitely don't have Discord even open now, so maybe I can rule out Discord overriding the permissions. Maybe it's just some hackers stealing my webcam while I'm on stream. Who knows? It's also an issue people have been having for a long time. Yeah, it definitely seems like Unity has a track record of putting out those half-baked features announced and then not actually finishing them or just dropping them. And yay, we have our workarounds. It's just a little frustrating that the camera's so bad, apparently. I bought a nice Razer camera when I started streaming. It was like, I'm going to do it every week. I'm going to upgrade from this like 15-year-old camera that I have. That one, my wife streams twice a week, has no problems. This one is a little bit rough, I guess. Oh. All right, so what were we doing? We were looking at conversation histories and wrapping up these other tabs. Let's go look at our tabs, because we also needed to get rid of the overlapping extra stuff, person name, etc. So let's just take our active quest out. Cool. So let's put our description, move it up yonder. Let's take our quest. I feel like that can probably be a little bit larger for sure. Make that guy up to like 36. And we'll bring him up as well. Maybe with a label. And we'll just show that message here for now, but we'll probably want to re-summarize it into another format, I think, but that'll be cool to build, so maybe I'll spend more time on that later on the stream. And then let's start looking at our conversation histories, which we don't have stored at all right now. We will need to store so that we can access them. You started building when you started the subject. It was 10 minutes ago. It's still building. Dang. That's rough. Do you have to rebuild those shaders or recompile those shaders often? I've never noticed it on stream, at least, so that's nice. That would be rough if I had to just sit here and wait for 10, 20 minutes. Dang. So I think also what we're going to end up needing is a 4th tab for showing a specific conversation. We won't have a tab here, but if we click on a conversation in this list of conversations, we'll probably want to jump over and show that. And I'm realizing we don't have like a title on conversations, so we might also need to like summarize them somehow to get them in this list making sense, or put like a timestamp on them or something, but let's think about that in a minute. Let's go paper. Every time I'm doing an actual build of the game, like getting an executable I can start on other machines. Dang, yeah, that's rough. Especially as you get closer to like releasing builds or demos where you want to be testing on different devices, or like, yeah, I guess when you're just making really small tweaks. I feel like that's always the case when you're like, all right, my demo's done. I'm going to build it and I'm going to distribute it. And then you play it and you're like, ah, man, I have a typo there. I need to fix that. And oh, man, I have a weird shadow there. I need to fix that. That's exactly why I need to fix this. Yeah, good luck with that. It's URP's fault. I have not actually ever used URP. I'm on the built-in renderer here. I've thought about switching to HDRP, but I feel like I don't really make a lot of my own assets, so I'm kind of beholden to what renderers the assets that I like support. So I definitely want to explore more of the other renderers. But why are you on URP? Is it just for like the performance stuff, or is it more for, I know that URP is recommended for like mobile and just runs well on everything. But I think, doesn't it also let you script your own render pipeline? Ah, mostly for the assets you use. Yeah, same here, actually. Yeah. So I feel that. Trying to get this to feel like a notebook that someone would carry around and jot notes in. For example, the fog solution only works with URP. I have noticed a lot of the like VFX, like a lot of the water effects that I've been like, ooh, that's really cool, have been URP or HDRP. A lot of them are URP though. I feel like I'm pretty limited on that side with the built-in renderer, but that's cool. I think your fog looks really cool too, so that's good vibes. Let's go ahead and remove horizontal scrolling. Let's mock up what a single line of a conversation looks like. So we'll have a conversation display line. Stretch it, and like, what do we want to say here? Like, title, conversation about frogs. Like, we could summarize conversations into a single line. Might not be very useful if you're like talking about the same thing over and over again. I don't want to lose the fog. Yeah, I still need to add fog in this. I've got the built-in fog, but I need proper fog. Conversation about frogs. Sure. And then maybe we could do a like 3 days ago type situation. 26. So if you don't necessarily know what the conversation was about, maybe you can kind of get a sense of when it was, and that'll also make sure the player knows this is chronological, so they can find conversations that way of like, oh yeah, I want to see 3 conversations ago what that was. Is there anything that we're missing on this? Like, if you talk with somebody, we know how many like lines of dialogue was in it. We don't necessarily need to show that. We know any actions you did in it, like whether you bought or sold items, whether you gave them an item, whether it was successful. We know like what time of day it was, or we will when we get the time of day built in, day-night cycles and stuff. So maybe this is fine for now. We would just need to build that summarization for what the conversation was about, which we could do. Apparently you only have to do this once, and it finished. Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say, when I build, I'm pretty sure it only builds the libraries that changed, or the, what are they called? Binaries that changed, assemblies that changed. And this project is all one assembly. I don't know if you've set up assembly configs, but that might be a good way to like, I mean, if you had to do it every time, you could put all your shaders in one assembly and then not touch it, and it shouldn't have to recompile. Create assembly, I think, in here somewhere. But if you only have to do it once, that is even better. Congratulations on finishing it. Where is this assembly definition? That's what you want. So that'll let you group sections of your code into a single binary that gets linked, and then I'm pretty sure if you don't edit any of the files in that assembly, it doesn't need to recompile. Alright, so now let's throw a vertical layout group on this guy. So that we can have multiple So we can have multiple messages that have a width. Why are you guys... Control child size, width. Okay. So now, a couple of these, sure. That seems fine. As you get more conversations, you'll jot down more and more notes. You can click on one of those to see the full conversation history. You know that music. Oh yeah, I don't know this one. I haven't actually played, is it Hollow Knight? There's my, what's the word? Admission? This is Hollow Knight, yeah. Fungal wastes. Okay, so we have these set up now. We should make a prefab for this, but we do need, let's do an image to make it a raycast target. And then we'll add a button, which will rig up to switch to showing a conversation tab. We'll do that in a minute though. We still need to store all these conversations. So we're gonna kind of tackle this from a couple angles, I guess. Let's go ahead and add some top padding. Well, I feel like that's not gonna scroll correctly. Scroll view, it's nice. Let's add a bunch more of these, see what it looks like when it scrolls. Okay, it might scroll fine. I never trust it. Scroll recs never work for me, but maybe it's fine. Let's add some top padding. Cool, that's probably fine. So, things that we need to do from here as we start this Hollow Knight soundtrack are, we need to store all the conversations that we have with an NPC when we close that dialogue window. And we need to be able to show those. So I think it makes sense to start with storing them. And we also need to summarize them, which secondary, we can just leave these conversations about frogs and it'll still work. Alright, so let's look at how we're going to store those. So when we close an NPC window manager, I think that's where we summarize conversations. Be on window close, I think. Callback on window hide. Yes. So we have a conversation database that we hit a trigger for end conversation, which does a summary of the conversation. Apparently stores it in our conversation history dictionary, which we are not using, obviously, but apparently might all already be stored for us, which will be nice. And then we queue up a new conversation that's empty, so as we're like generating the next messages, we just add it to that next time you open the player window or the NPC window. So it sounds like we already have a list of conversations in the conversation database conversation history dictionary. So if that is true, we should be able to just show them in our codex window manager when we switch to the history page. So we will try that. Let's go ahead and just stick a prefab in here so I don't need to hunt down where it's going to live in our systems. We're also going to need, in our codex window, a reference to this parent, a reference to the prefab, and I think that's it. So history is going to be public transform ref conversation history list container, and also a public game object for a prefab conversation history line. And so when we switch to the history tab, we're going to clear history list container, and then we will add each line of the conversation history from, will this work? No. Let's go see what our methods are. Get conversation between. So this is the current conversation. Right. Let's say add summarize conversation, get most recent conversation. This is fine. Let's just add a new method for public list conversation. Get all conversations between player and persona. And that's named a little bit long because we want to eventually support adding conversations between NPCs. So I don't want to make this like get all conversations with persona because we'll need to rewrite it then. Now it can just be a standalone thing doing one thing. Apparently this compiling of shader variants only has to be done once and then it's cached. However, if you change Unity versions after that, it needs to rebuild everything. So ironically, upgrading to Unity 6 would technically make it slower if you need to recompile. So this is now a method we can use over here. We can say for each conversation in conversation database dot get all conversations between player and persona. For our shown persona, we can instantiate that and we'll fill it with data when we have the data, but I don't think our conversation object has a notion of like a title or a summary. So we might end up adding that, but we will see. It does have like a index or a pointer through what message we are showing. Because we can have conversations where we've on the back end added more messages to them that the player has not yet seen. So we do want to make sure that when they're like, if they go talk to an NPC, they say something and then leave the conversation so they don't see the response. That response will be added to the conversation. It might not be. But there are ways that we add messages to conversations that the player hasn't seen. So we'll just want to make sure that we're only showing messages the player has seen. My game actually looks good as a standalone build, not gonna lie. Heck yeah. I feel like, I mean, it is basically the same when you run it standalone versus in this player, but there's something about it being like really full screen, really like, this is it. It feels so good every time. You're gonna have to show me around on your next stream. Just take me through that start to finish. I'm excited to see it. None of this is going to work. I didn't set any references, but yeah, it just feels real. Like you could distribute that to somebody and they could play your game that you created instead of like, I can't necessarily just send you my Unity file and be like, hey, play this. It's not a game yet, but when you build it, it is your game. It reminds me, it's the same vibe of like, I wrote a book in high school and I've been working on it for so long. And as soon as you're done, you're like, oh, I'm never touching that again. But then I printed it out. It was like a few hundred pages. I printed it out and had a stack of papers, and I was like, this right here, this totally separate from what I've been doing. This is my book. And it's a very accomplished feeling, I feel. Good job. All right, let's get this working. So we've got our Codex window manager. We also don't have any notion of when the conversation happened, which I think is fine for now. We don't have any in-game time anyway. We're going to have a day-night system later, but we don't have it yet. So I think let's just leave this prefab to say conversations about frogs 3 days ago for every conversation for now, because we need to summarize for this and we need our in-game time for this. So at least we'll have the number of conversations here. And when you click on one of these, we will show the full conversation. It's 3 gig. I think that's a decent size for an indie game. Heck yeah, that's like Valheim size. I think. I remember that being really, really small. Or like big for an indie game. That's exciting though. How's the fishing going? You know, we're talking about frogs. That's a start. Maybe I can get your thoughts on what you think about. There's probably going to be like a fishing mini game, but I'm also considering the like harvesting systems around fishing. And maybe other people lurking in the chat. Let me talk about my idea for fishing here, because it might just be off the rails, and this game's already so infinite, it might make things even worse. But let me walk to this lake real fast. Having flashbacks to when I was in school and had to produce a physical copy of my portfolio senior year, and it ended up being over 50 pages. Yeah, my dad taught at a college nearby, so I was always in their computer lab. And what I would do is I printed out like 5 to 10 pages a day just so nobody would notice. And it took me like a couple months to print this whole dang manuscript out. And at the end it felt so good. But if you try and print like just a big old thing anywhere, I feel like you always get so much grief. Alright, here's the idea. In this game, right now, you can use any tool on any object and you get an item back. So for example, if I were to take this fishing rod or this pickaxe or this shovel, I can obviously use a fishing rod on this bush, theoretically, if my colliders are set, which apparently they're not. It's too big, can't get to the actual collider. We'll use our fishing rod on the ground. So from then on, it's creating one item that you get when you use that fishing rod on the ground. You've seen this, obviously, like it's the same with all these other items. And so right now it does the same. Oh, right, I don't have colliders on for the lake, but we'll use the ground as an example. If I go over here and I fish, it's going to give me one fish per item. So if I wanted like a different fish, I would need a different fishing rod. However, I'm thinking it wouldn't be that hard for some objects, for example, like water, to not have one item that you get per item or per tool. You could have a growing list of items that you can possibly get. So you're basically fishing and it's hiding the research project or process, but it's generating maybe 10 items that you could get from that lake using this tool. And each time this progress bar goes through, you're getting a random one of those. And so this single fishing rod gives you a chance of getting 10 items from this object instead of just the one. You'd probably need like a different fishing rod to get a different 10 pool of items. But I feel like that might be cool with like other objects. Maybe there's something like I mean, this is a dumb object, but like if you have a vending machine or something in the game and you're harvesting with your fists, like it could give you 10 random items each time, like if you're not pushing in the correct button. Like there's a lot of really interesting items or objects that you could get a lot of different stuff for, and it's almost like a different way to harvest. So it could just be a flag on each object. I could check a box and say the pool of items is limited to 1 or limited to 10 or 100 or what. But that's what I'm thinking for fishing. I have no idea what the fishing minigame looks like. I'm so tempted to just do the Flappy Bird from Stardew Valley, but I would still like to do some sort of weird like mechanic that's only enabled through AI, and I have no idea what that would be. If anybody has any ideas, you could talk to fish and convince them to come with you. Maybe tell them how delicious your bait is. I haven't really thought through a mini game mechanic that I like yet, but that's the back end that I've been toying with. But yeah, I think there does need to be a mini game for sure. Is it too lame to just do the same mini game that everyone does, either the Flappy Bird or like where you drag your rod to the left or the right to keep the fish on the line? I mean, I guess I haven't shown this off yet, but we also have a harvest system for like trees and stuff that gives you a bar and like a mini game here. So we could like bake it into the harvest system somehow to have the mini game for fishing where you need to like do something to keep fish on the line. Very open to ideas on the mini game. I don't know what's fun here other than just making a silly little mini game. But Flappy Bird is a classic where you gotta hold down your mouse to keep the bar raised or let go to drop it. But we could do something like this too, where maybe you have like a fish that's on the actual harvest bar and you need to hit space bar whenever you pass by the fish, or maybe you need to hit like a direction, left or right, to get the fish more in the center or something like that. Maybe I'll prototype a few different things and treat a stream like a game jam or something and do a couple fishing approaches. But I probably wouldn't be as excited to add fishing if it was just the mini game. I'm mostly excited about the little back end thing, but you know, we'll add it eventually for sure. Actually talking and convincing the fish to come with you is a cool, unique idea as well. I like that. There's also a really interesting, like, I've talked a lot about how the NPCs have like baked in metadata and personalities and stuff that let you talk to them. That's kind of an obvious thing. Tony is also giving them sensory input, so they will have some more context about what's immediately surrounding them. So like they could see objects on the ground or like see how many times the player has passed by them. All that is really interesting when you consider that you could also attach that to any object in the world. You could add that to a fish and talk to them and they can have a personality or whatever. I'm really excited to add that to trees and cast like talk to plant and talk to this bush about what it's like being next to these other bushes, and we can generate a personality for this bush that is persistent from then on, and call me a tree hugger, but talking to plants seems pretty fun. I think that would be a really cool tie-in to like farming, where you plant something on the ground and you can then cast a spell to talk to it, and if you maybe make it happier or something, it grows faster. Obviously off topic from fishing, but we could do something like that where fish are easier to catch if you lure them in with words, or have some celebrities who are legendary fish. It'd be cool to have some like Loch Ness monster or just like a big old fish in the water that you can maybe if you catch it, then you could talk to it for a bit, but then you let it go because it's too big or something like that. Lots of possibilities on the actual mini game and like secondary features there. Make the fish have an actual civilization, an actual conversation, maybe. Yeah, I'm down with that. Go in and grab a fish and just chat to him. But yeah, that's my idea for fishing. Tony and I are still brainstorming a little bit, but could be a cool idea. Did I play Persona 5? I did not. I've heard really good things, but something about the style has kind of put me off it a little bit, but I've heard that it's really good. I should give it a shot. I think it's a little older now, right? There might be a new one coming out. Maybe that would be the one that I would try. Oh right, we were here to look at conversation history, which doesn't look like there is one for him. Maybe for him. No, okay. I forget that this guy's personality is that he makes dad jokes a lot. So when he throws in like cheese puns, gives me pause every time. I'm like, why is he doing this? Oh right, I told him to do this. They did an upgraded royal version. Okay. Play the new one. Metaphor looks so good. I've touched Persona 5, but not very far into the game, but I did really like it. In Persona 5, you can catch monsters, and this involves also convincing them through conversation to join you. Depending on their type, they want to be convinced in a different style. That's cool. That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out, how that works. It reminds me a little bit of... Is it Undertale? I haven't played it. I've watched people play it, but you can fight monsters or you can talk to them and kind of pacify them. I know it's a little blasphemous that I haven't played it, but yeah, I would love to see how Persona does it too, because it sounds... I mean, I love creature collecting games too, but it would be really cool to see some of these approaches. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Okay. Maybe I'll play it. Yeah, why not? I always feel like those sort of like cult classic games that everyone loves, I feel like I miss them most of the time, and then like I start hearing about them 5 years down the road, and then I'm like, does this really stand up though? Is this nostalgia? Will I enjoy it, or will I have that imposter syndrome of like playing it but it's not as good compared to current games, but I have to pretend to like it because everybody else loved it? But you know what? I'll try Undertale. Maybe Patrick and I can both play. Honestly, I think Persona 5 handles it under the hood, like assigning a correct answer randomly every time a conversation pops up. I don't know. You could play Undertale on stream, you know? Maybe I will. I've been trying to fit in like a third gaming stream per week. I just have really busy weeks coming up for the next like several months. But I've got game dev on Tuesdays and a Minecraft series on Wednesdays. But I could do Thursdays, like Thursday mornings. Could maybe do Mondays. I'll poke around. There's so many games. My friend just bought me what's the new wizard game that plays like XCOM about shooting people through windows or like knocking people through windows. I was playing that yesterday and I'm like, this would be a fun stream game too. But just gotta find the time. Excuse me. Let me find this game. I'm only a couple hours in. Wizards? Tactical Breach Wizards. Yeah. Let me just go to the Steam page. So it plays... I also, confession, haven't played XCOM. I've seen so much analysis of XCOM. But apparently this one has a lot... They've removed the like chance for attacks and stuff to go through. It's very... It plays like... what's that? I'm sure you'll be able to pick it up. Let's look at this. But basically you play as a wizard or a group of wizards that all have their own abilities. And you are Into the Breach. Yeah, exactly. It plays like Into the Breach, where your units are wizards with different abilities, like 3 or 4 different abilities that you can choose from. You're setting up turn order attacks and stuff to happen, and then you hit play, and it plays a whole turn at once. Into the Breach is a great game. I think I have probably 200 hours in that, but it was all streamed from Stadia, so lost all my hours played. But apparently I'm only maybe 5 or 6 missions into this, but there's a lot of like really strong enemies that you can't necessarily just take down through damage, so there's a lot of just like knocking them out windows in order to kill them. As you can see. Which, fun fact for your vocabulary, is called defenestration, I believe. Yes. The action of throwing someone out a window, defenestration. Enjoy that tip. It's a pretty good game so far. My friend was like, hey, I bet you would like this, and he bought it for me, so I've been pouring a bunch of time into it, and I do like it. It is very like puzzle driven with like a campaign that I've kind of skipped over the campaign a little bit. I'm really hoping that I get a larger party of wizards later, but right now it's like each match is like 1 or 2 moves because it's so simple so far. But I'm hoping that it becomes like large, like it's that one older like Game Boy Advance game, Final Fantasy Tactics. That would be really cool with like these wizard setups. And there's some like roguelike mechanics where you can like level up your spells in different ways too. But it is $20 apparently. It's a good game. I was literally just watching an Adam Milliard video about it before the stream, and that's a good video too. I'll post it on Discord. Let me see if I can find it. Adam Milliard. What was that game called? Tactical Breach Wizards. There we go. This was a good video. Just watched it right before stream. Let me throw that in Discord. My dream game is to make something similar to Fire Emblem. Oh boy, my sister-in-law loves Fire Emblem. I have never played, but I gather that it's very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, but with a lot more like campaign and story, maybe, and maybe larger battles. But it looks cool. I like the style a lot, and I like the big, like how much of the world there is to explore, it seems like. Let me throw this video in Discord, but what do you like about Fire Emblem? I don't know much about it, but what's the gist there? And yet again, camera froze. Good excuse to take a big old drink. Check my teeth. I'm sure it'll be back in a minute. I've only played the 2 for the Game Boy Advance. After that I started to lose interest. But I think if I played the one for the GameCube, I would fall in love. GameCube had such a good set of like bops. There's so many good GameCube games that I'm like, that was the game that I would love to make again. Or not again, but the game that I would love to make, or the game that I would love to play again. So many unique games. I think it was like a really good era for gaming. Alrighty, humans, it's getting late for me here. I'm going to count some sheep if you can catch my drift. Good luck with the sheep counting, human. Thanks for popping in. I'm trying to reset my camera again. I probably have a little bit left in me to get some of this conversation data stored on NPCs, but I might also call it sometime soon. I'm having a good time chatting, though. Just getting a little, a little frustrated with these videos. Cutting out, but all good. Thanks for the awesome stream. See you next time, you too. I'll definitely check yours out as well. See you soon. Just love how thoughtful you have to be in your decision making. Also, the upgrading of classes was something I thought was cool, and how you can upgrade some characters to fill a hole in the team. Yeah, I love like party building, I guess I'd call it. Just the nature of trying to get that good team composition mixed with the individual like progression of characters to make them fill certain roles. That is my jam in games. Alright, it looks like our camera is finally dead, actually. Workaround does not work, and Windows says my device has malfunctioned, so we are cameraless. All frozen. I don't know if the stream stopped or what. My music definitely stopped. Everything seems to have stopped. I hear nothing. Unity still works. If you... Oh, my audio is back. Yeah, unsure what happened. My computer full on froze. That hasn't happened in a long time. Oh, I'm also seeing... It might actually work. We just forgot to set those references on the codex manager. We'll check it out. Yeah, my music has stopped. Spotify has stopped working. I don't even hear it. Can't play the current song. Interesting. Okay. Alright. Well, we will... Let's jump to the end and just autoplay into something else. That should be back. Cool. We're working on things. It'll work. Let's see here. Let's get these references set, which we needed. Let's double check the chat. If you were able to pay close attention and make 2 specific units talk to one another at just the right time, they would get stat bonuses. And the terrain bonuses were really cool. Interesting. That's a cool mechanic that I hadn't considered. It's just like players getting, or not players, the characters getting benefits from each other, from like talking to each other. Probably like, do you have to build relationships between characters for like more benefits in that way. Let's get this history page in. This guy and our prefab. So maybe this did work and we just didn't have these references set. Exactly. Oh yeah, that's super cool. The one thing, like, they say not to make your dream game as like the first game you release, but definitely kind of making my dream game here with a lot of the inspirations and blending in a lot of Tony's dream game too, I think. But the one big thing that I feel like is missing is like party composition stuff, which maybe that's just doesn't belong in a third person action crafting game. But I love that stuff so much. Bare Bones is still kind of a dream game. Yeah. It's relationship based, and the newer the games, the more in depth with that mechanic they get into it. Interesting. So you probably also have characters that like are probably strong together but don't necessarily like each other, so you need to like balance that. That would be cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check out that sometime, just because like sister-in-law has played like every single one, loves them all, plays them on stream even. And I just haven't even looked at them, but would be really cool to see. And I'll add that, Persona 5 and Undertale to my never-ending list of things to play when I have time. Alright, do we have conversations? We have one. Now if we go talk to this guy again, will we have a second conversation? We'll get out of here. Ask her for more in-depth questions then. I'm sure she'd explain better than me. I will. Will do. Alright, we close this conversation, which should have ended our second conversation and created a third one. So if we go to that guy, do we have two conversations? Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. So that means that the conversation messages are probably also stored, which means I might be able to just get this done real fast without having to worry about routing data around and storing it, since apparently we were all storing it. And we're always talking about frogs, but again, that's fine. That's a great thing to talk about. So let's see if we can now rig this up to when you click on one of these conversations, it switches to a fourth tab that doesn't have a tab handler here, but it just shows that full conversation so you can see what you said, what they said, scroll on back, and kind of do the same thing. So let's see if we can rig that up real fast. We might have some weird UI stuff to do, but maybe we can make it work. So what I'm going to do to make that work is I'm just going to copy this history tab so everything looks exactly the same. And we're just going to stick a text box in here, I think. Or we could do... We probably don't want to go that simple, but we can have like a conversation message for each line. So we'll say tab conversations. We can keep this for now. And let's go look at the data format. What's in a conversation? So it should be a list of messages. Yeah. List of chat messages, and each chat message has who said it and what they said, and that's it. Okay. Seems fine. So we can iterate over that list, create messages, I feel like we can just do this with text if we want that notebook look or aesthetic, as if the player wrote this down. We haven't done any custom fonts yet, but I want like a handwritten font for a lot of this. So if we were to take this and do like me, blah, Bob, blah, blah, me, blah, something like that, it'd be scrollable. You'd be able to see who said each message. You'd be able to reference all the messages. I think that would look better in the style of what I'm envisioning versus like having the like speech bubbles with like their avatar or something like you'd see in a lot of conversation UI. Could even do like some small headers. Probably not that bright green, but we could do something. Let's do like red, green, blue. That'd be 22FF22. Just something that denotes it, but we probably don't even need to do that much. But that does mean that we can just have a single Text Mesh Pro in this. Let's make it black text. We'll do plenty of padding, so something like this, and then what I want to do is double check that we can stick a content size fitter on this. To give it a proper height so that it'll scroll within the scroll rect as the content expands. So if we throw on a content size fitter, the vertical fit preferred. Yes, okay, it gives us the correct height. Surely that'll scroll within the scroll rect just fine. Cool. And so now, in our Codex window manager, we can now have a switch persona tab of conversation, which needs a reference to that Text Mesh Pro object. And I think that's all we need. So here, we're going to do ref conversation page dot set active true. We need to make sure it gets set false for everything else. And we need to just populate that conversation. So let's do a quick little void populate conversation text. Don't know what we need yet, but we want to call that before we show the tab. That's going to go into our conversation. And I'm realizing we probably want this to trigger from the conversation index button. So we probably actually want it to be like public void show conversation log of conversation. maybe we call this draw conversation log, or just thinking of how we want to pass around the data, because if we go look at our conversation history tab, we want these to be buttons. So we want this, when called, to both switch the active tab shown to the conversation tab, which we can do. Switch persona tab to conversation, but we also want it to populate that tab with data of this conversation, which we'll need to do through code when we are drawing. So we'll do it here because we have a reference to the conversation. So I think this is fine. We'll just call this draw conversation log. And so here we would do something like line.getComponent button dot onClick add listener draw conversation log for this conversation as a method. And so this method will be handling drawing the actual conversation to text, and then switch persona tab literally just shows that tab and we switch it. And since we'll have two methods on this, should do both just fine. Don't think there's any raise condition there either. So we have a conversation here. Let's draw it. So if we do like ref conversation text dot text is equal to, let's just make it blank while we're thinking about it. Yeah, we need a loop over each message. We can append to the text with, say, string speaker is equal to user is the player, otherwise the persona name, which isn't technically correct unless we also say if message dot role is equal to system, then we skip it. So we are not showing system messages here yet, although we could for things like you gave them an item or you bought an item or something. But this will skip system messages, get a proper speaker. Let's grab an M dash. Never know the keyboard shortcut. I just Google this all the time. Copy and paste. And then the message content, let's do 2 new lines so we've got a nice break between them. And I think that might work once we've set our references on the codex window. Let's give it a shot. So conversation page is this guy. Conversation text is this guy. So these, when you click on one of them, let's make sure these are applied to all prefabs. When you click on one of them, it's going to close this tab. It's going to draw the information in this tab and then show this tab. So probably fine. Let's go give it a shot. All right, so we want to chat to someone. store the conversation, and then show it in our codex. So we have some messages. Your hat looks silly. Right. He's getting us good. Let's apologize. And then we will close this, which should conclude the conversation. I think that'll also generate a summary, which we could also show in our context, or our codex. Let's just close it. So if we go over here, we wait a second, make sure it's all done. If we open this, go look at him, you can see the quest that he asked us about, which still need to like reformat that, I think. We could also still show a lot of this on just one window, which maybe we will do and just make a lot of stuff scrollable, but we have one conversation here. If we click it, nothing happened. Interesting. Not even an error. Okay. Well, why not? Does it have click event? So if we go to tab history, scroll view, viewport content, this guy does not have an on-click event. So if we add one real fast, well, we can add one of our own, but we also need the one from code that we're supposed to have set up. So we can't really test that in the editor here. So let's go look at that, because let's apply all these, I guess. All the references are set. If we go down to the conversation display line, this should be set. Let's go into the prefab, make sure that this, why can't I apply this? Is it because it's referencing a window or a object in the scene? If I change this to something else, now I can apply them, but that's not what I want. Conversation. Will this apply? Huh. I mean, we can just set that up from code too. I just don't understand why. I think it's because it's referencing something else in the scene. It can't be part of the prefab. So we can do that too. The alternative is just put a script on this, which calls this method, since it's a singleton method anyway. We're gonna have a script on it eventually anyway. Conversation display line. Let's call it a codex conversation display line. We'll just take this and stick it in that. To use the technical terms. Codex conversation display line. This is going to have a public void show conversation in codex persona tab. And we'll have a public conversation. That'll let us store the conversation so we can do both events from here. So we can just say like line.getComponent that guy.conversation, or even public void load data. So then we can call everything else too. And then instead of here, we now have this, so we can just call getComponent button. But I guess we could also just have a reference to the button. And then this guy becomes UI references.instance.codex window.draw conversation log. Maybe we even do just one event now, I guess. So what are our two methods? We have draw conversation log to populate it with data, and then we have switch persona tab to actually switch. So let's populate with data and then switch. Conversation. All right, so it should be full of data now. Should switch. This guy, we just need to set load data, or I guess we don't actually need to set that reference anymore. But conversation display line does need our script, which isn't on the prefab. Let's remove that. One click button is this. We apply that. And then when we are creating those, we're loading it with that conversation. So it's setting up both of events for us. And that also saves it on the actual prefab itself, so we don't have reference issues trying to reference a scene object from a prefab instantiated. So are we missing anything here? I think we're good. Let's try this. Might work. And camera's back again for some reason. I have no idea why it somehow doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes does. It's all good. Alright, we say some things. Your head is shiny. We just have a conversation with multiple messages. LOL. And let's go see what we've got. Codex, people, this guy, history, conversation about frogs. We have our full conversation with him. Cool, cool, cool. So we probably do want to summarize that. I mean, I think we do have a summary because we can literally go back to this guy and it's a summary here. So this is a second conversation. We can just say no, LOL. And then see if we can get that conversation history as well. Cool. All right, things are working. We still want like back buttons and other niceties to the UI. We need to handle the highlights, and we probably do want to move, like, we have these 3 tabs right here, but I think we'll probably just move them all into one tab. Like, there's no need to have all these tabs. I was worried that the conversation list history would be too long and just take up the whole page. But I feel like we can just bring that down to like here and just let it scroll, show the most recent ones. And not have to deal with these tabs. And we can just have a tab for the different conversations. I think that'll be a lot cleaner. So let's get one conversation that is actually long. That's a little weird. Let's get one that's really long just so we can make sure everything scrolls okay. So I'll just click on through while I sip on more coffee. The answer is his mom. Got him. Got him good. Alright, that should be long enough to scroll. So, with him, we've got 3 conversations now. Does not scroll, but you know what? We'll fix that off camera. I hate scroll rects. They never work. But, I mean, at least you can see the whole conversation here. That's nice. So, that's really all we needed for the NPCs. We get more and more of these entries as you meet new people, which is nice as well. Let's go do some quick things. And maybe we can either get the summary in or... Or we can redesign the tabs to just be in one tab. That's probably the way we want to do it. So let's go in here, codex window, cool. Show person. So if we get rid of the details tab, the quests tab, my cat, and the histories tab, we'll just have the main tab, as it were, and the conversation tab. So in order to do that, what we'll do is just take these things out of each of these tabs, and then we'll move them around. So this should be fine. We get quest label. This is conversations label. It's an epic song to be doing this to. And we can just bring, what is this a scroll view of? The conversations. So this will be conversations scroll view. Bring that on down here. This all needs like pixel perfect design, but also like a vertical stack. So as these things expand, they're pushing other things around. But I think that's fine for now. Just a good example of fitting it all in one page. Okay, so that lets us get rid of all of these tabs, which definitely cleans the page up a lot. We'll still put a back button to get back to the people list, but navigation is a lot simpler. And then also when we click on one of these, we'll have a back button to get back to this page. But we can now have tab detail, sure. Stick all this stuff, well, not all of it. All this stuff back in here so that we can turn it off when we show the conversation page. Let's not bring it in quite yet because we still want to expand this though. Okay, now we bring all this in. And now in our code, we still want this guy, Codex Window Manager, to show the detail page by default. But we can get rid of the quests page and the history page. Well, I guess we just do all this on the detail page now. So this guy and this guy. And so we can switch back and forth with the same tab system that we built before, which we'll do with just that back button, and whenever we show a people detail page, we will automatically switch to the details page by default. That will rig up these guys to allow you to switch to the conversation page for a specific conversation. I'll add that back button to get you back to the details page. I think that should all work. I mean, text might stack on top of each other, but let's see how this looks. Let's clean up a little bit of this code first, since we shouldn't be using it anymore. But I want to make sure stuff errors properly. So we just have 2 tabs now. Okay. Detail page needs reset, that's fine. And should be good to go. Turn this guy off and let's test it out. Eventually. One of these days. Okay. We talked to a person. He hadn't generated a message yet, so we'll see what he looks like. But let's go talk to somebody else just to make sure that we get a normal case too, since that guy hadn't even generated a message yet. So we'll click through, get a couple conversation things going. Maybe one more message. Every prayer he utters to comfort people turns into a lullaby, sending his congregation into unintended slumber. Oh, this is a long message. And I'm surprised we didn't already have the canned responses by the time it was done. Huh. Alright, maybe next week's a bug fix stream. Alright, so codex, NPCs. Let's do him first. Right. Yeah, stuff is still overlapping, but we have one conversation. If we click on it, we see the full conversation. We will have a back button to go back to him from here. I think we can just get a stack working that like pushes stuff around, normalize all the font size and stuff. But if we go talk to him again, we can redraw this page. 2 conversations, we get them both. Cool. Alright, so that is nice. And yeah. Yeah, looks good. So let's go ahead and get all this stacking correctly, I guess. UI fun. I'm slowing down on the stream, but want to get it done so I'm not just leaving it in a broken state. So let's see what we can do. So in our detail page, we basically have this column which we want to have a vertical layout group on. We just want to make sure that everything in it expands to the full height and width of what it's trying to show. So negative width ain't gonna do it. Take that friendship slider out again. So this guy actually needs to be properly sized to what we're showing and hiding. Then we can add our vertical layout group. Force width expansion. Let's normalize all these font sizes. So active quest is 36. Let's bring it down to 30. Let's bring the description up to 30. We want this guy to have a content size fitter that makes his height equal to, well, let's make sure that this doesn't have anything controlling height. So this guy needs to have his height set to preferred size. Should match the text, cool. Quest label is fine. It's a static height and we know that. We actually can give it a little bit of padding this way. And this guy will also give content size fitter, vertical fit preferred. So its height will match whatever text is in it. Conversations label will do the same padding trick we did before. We probably want to just match the same styling as this. So that's bold upper 36. And black text. And then this guy with our negative 1,000 height. Would love to just fill the remaining space. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Let's do a quick Google, but I'm also happy if it's just like 400 pixels high or something. Vertical, what is it called again? Layout group. Fill remaining space. I feel like this is always harder than it looks. But maybe it's easy if I just add layout element, or whatever it's called, layout element, and then flexible height? Preferred height? No, that's not it. Flexible height, surely. I think you could probably achieve that by using a layout element with flexible height equals 1. Okay. Sure. Well, we'll see. But I think this should stack everything correctly. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of extra spacing and see how it looks. I feel like my internet is dying. My Spotify is acting up. Queue up something else real fast. Alright, we talked to a fella. We say some things, and then we run away. Codex, people, him, one conversation. Everything is stacked correctly, that's good. And we can go look at that conversation again. Cool, cool, cool. Let's talk to him again. Yes. We give him extra eyeball. Let's go talk to a few others, but I think everything looks good. I just want to make sure the different like quest lengths are stacking correctly. We still need to do the actual scrolling on the conversation log, but it's a small thing. Okay, her and her. Cool, cool, cool. People, we got lots of nice folks we've met now. We have an active quest with her. Interesting, we didn't get a conversation with him. Oh, you know what? That end conversation method only gets called when you close the conversation window. And with him, we talked to him, and then we talked to the blacksmith nearby. So I bet it never got called. We should probably fix that too. I'll jot that down over here. Okay, so let's look at just a couple more. This guy's got one conversation. Cool, cool, cool. We didn't say anything back. She should have a couple now. This overlapped a little bit for some reason. Okay, I mean it mostly works. There's some style stuff to do, but for the most part, we have a huge improvement here where you now have this notebook. I mean, we didn't even have the people tab before the stream. So now as you meet people, you get notes on their personality. You get a reference of whatever their current quest is. We still want to summarize it into a different form, I think. So it's not like strictly just the message that they sent you. But you also have a log of all the conversations that you had with them, so you can go back and refer back to what they said. And I think that'll be really handy when you're like out in the world exploring, just to go back and reference the things that they said. So I'd say all in all, that's a pretty successful new feature. Let's talk to this guy real fast, and I feel like we're having issues with some internet issues. Welcome back, Anthrax. How's it going? Nominally just going to be listening for now. I'm also thinking about wrapping up the stream soon. No worries. We actually just wrapped up the majority of this new NPC window. So now as you're going through the world and meeting new people, you're taking notes on what you learn about them. You have references to all of the conversations that you had with them. And you can also go check out what their quest message was, like the problem message. Still a lot of like stylizing and stuff we want to do, but it works pretty well. We still need to restyle a lot of these other pages in your codex and add some like back buttons and stuff. But I mean, it's looking pretty good for kind of collecting all of the information that you gather throughout the world. One other thing that I wanted to rig up on stream today, but I don't think that I have the time to, is to right click on any of these items to go to an item page, which I don't have a way to trigger right now, but I can open it manually. Pages, objects, show object. Let's hide our current page. So when you right click on any name or on any item, we don't want show object, we want show item. It'll take you to another page that shows all the recipes that are needed to craft that item. So like if you want a hammer or something, it'll have handle plus stone or whatever to get all the different ways that you can make that item, but also all the different recipes that you've made that item with. So combining an axe and a blood mushroom, whatever this recipe is, will show up down here on both the axe page and the blood mushroom page. And on the cursed battle axe page, you'll see this as a recipe in order to make that item. So really just trying to create a lot of really easy to use UI to help you get to the item that you want to get to, really. Yeah, proper recipe browser. Right now, I mean, this is debug data. We have a lot of recipes built into the game for items that don't exist yet. So, for example, like acid rain, I think is mixed from acid and rain, probably. We don't have items for acid and rain. I'm just pumping all this in here so it's nice and populated so I can test performance and stuff. But for items that don't exist yet, we don't have anything to show or like any images or anything. But that's kind of how it's going to look as you fill it out with your own items. Would you be able to click an item and see what it's used in as well? Yes, absolutely. The goal is you have this main list of like all your recipes in general. But if you were to click on, say, ash or something, it'll bring you directly to that page for ash specifically that would have some details about ash, like its stats and whatever, but also those recipes for creating it and the recipes that you would use ash in. So hopefully that'll be a nice way to kind of navigate around the crafting system. You can also do some crafting from this window as well. So if I go to like craftable, so I still have the ingredients to craft more of these. So from this window, I can actually click this and it's creating additional ones and consuming those ingredients. So you can do a little bit of crafting from over here as well. So it's kind of like a nice browser that can also function, hopefully. It's black diamond, apparently. I wonder what happens. See, we have this recipe, so ash and crystal. We have item data, and we have the data for the recipe for what happens when you combine an item named ash and an item named crystal. It'll make an item named black diamond, but we don't have item data for that yet, so I'm going to try and craft it here. Yeah, it's not going to work, but if we were to go in and actually craft it by hand, follow the proper flow, I wonder, I'm going to see what that gives. The only reason we see it in that codex right now is because of the test data. Ideally, you'll never see anything in there that you can't actually craft because it all gets added when you discover those recipes normally. But let's give it a shot. It was a crystal and ash. If this system works, it should always give us, I don't think the order matters, but crystal and ash I think is backwards. Let's test it out. Oh, interesting. Well, well, that broke too. Ash, crystal, black diamond. I wonder what happens the other way around. Literally just isn't even existing recipe exists. Oh, yep. It's going down this flow where it assumes that you have combined those in the past before. So it knows that a recipe exists for those, and it assumes that all the components of that recipe have existed. So what we need to do is if resulting item is null, we need to still generate the resulting item before continuing. And so this is really just a system in that lets us, let's see, generic. It's our data class. The heck is that class called? But basically we just have a bunch of hard-coded stuff in from the get-go, so we can make sure that all your starting items have like recipes that we expect and stuff. So you can actually make those tools at the start and do things even if we don't have the actual items generated yet for what those recipes result in. We want to be able to guide you a few different ways. But yeah, that's probably a good place to end for the stream. Big thing this week was this new people window, which is great to show off when it's empty. But there was a lot of other stuff that, obviously there's endless stuff to do. So we want to find some time to do the other stuff too, but maybe not today. And I'm going to go have some food, but it's been really nice having you guys in. Again, thank you for your comments on the devlog. It's given me a lot to think about. Let me show you I've got a bunch of notes that I haven't really responded with yet, but just trying to get a sense of all the concerns and feedback on completionism and where skills should fit and the misinterpretations with NPCs, how to deal with inventory management and stuff. So just trying to take stock of how people feel, and so making sure that whatever we put out doesn't still feel bad, really. Guess I'll go play the itch version and put a little thing on the Discord earlier. Excellent. Yeah, I'll be on Discord after this as well. I was actually opening the itch version before stream, playing with those particle effects. I've been tempted to go through and kind of update it with all the stuff that we've learned since then. I might go through and update it with some of the brain stuff that Tony's working on. We'll see. I think it's really cool to have the crafting demo on itch just for people to play. I'm hoping that we'll have this demo out next month for people to play, but it's too big to fit in a browser, so it's really cool to have the browser demo too, especially for a specific feature. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. My camera has died so many times during the stream. I'm waving by, but it's been real nice having you. Thanks again for the follow. Thanks for everything. I am personally streaming again tomorrow. I do a Minecraft series on Wednesday. Talking seam isn't going to work. Yeah, and I'll be streaming. Some people suggested some other games throughout the stream today. I'll find some time to stream those too, sometime this week or maybe next week. We'll see. But yeah, it's been a good one, a real one, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks for coming in, and have a great day.